Beautiful. That's a good
And we're,
start.
oh,
And we're going
yes.
to go here. We're going to go here. Are you ready? Oh,
I'm
shit.
ready, bro. Let's do this.
천사 같은 하이 끝은 악마 같은 바이 매번 미칠 듯한 하이 DM 뱉어야 하는 price 이건 답이 없는 test 매번 속더라도 yes 딱한 감정에 누게 얼어 죽을 사랑해 Here I come kicking it out 가장 독한 걸로 drop 뻔하디 뻔한 그 love 더 내놔봐 give me some more 알아서 매달려 벼랑 끝에 한마디만 더 like 해볼래 해 그 따뜻한 떨림이 새빨간 설렘이 마치 해변 끝까지만 you might not get in it Look at me, look at you 누가 더 아플까 you smile 누가 you are 두 눈에 피눈물 흐르게 된다면 so sorry 누가 you are 어떡해 나약한 나에 견딜 수 없어 서로를 가린 채 사랑의 손목을 끊어야겠어 Let's kill this love Yeah 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 yeah
Oh, oh,
Good slap, bro.
oh. Dude, let's just blast off to some Blackpink right now. Ryan Sprague, dude, it is incredible to be here with you. What is going on, my friend?
Thank you, brother. Not much, man. Really just LIVIN living, and enjoying enjoying my time. We just rocked a dope podcast on mine, and I'm so honored and grateful to be able to get the chance to hop on yours now. This reciprocity thing is fan flipping tabulous, and I'm ready, girl. Let's go. Let's go,
You
bro.
are a man that stays ready. They say if you stay ready, ain't gotta get ready. Okay.
Yeah.
And Ryan Sprague, this man, I've never seen this man have to get ready. Not
Guilty as
never.
so
Uh,
sue me.
so really the only reason I had you on the show, Ryan, is just to hear you say mint a lot. So just do me a favor.
Hell yeah. Men. Men.
Oh man. Well, so I didn't prepare. So by this time, people already know what you do. So that's how the show works. I'll do like things separate.
Hell
So
yeah,
they're
bro.
gonna know what you do, but really we're here because honestly, you're one of the most fun people that I know, truly.
Hell yeah.
And
Hell yeah, bro.
although you are you have a perfect serious fun balance because you live life, you have so much fun, and when you start talking about things that you know well, man, you like know your stuff. So you're very serious into your crafts, many of your crafts. But first, just let people know what you're into, not necessarily what you do, but what are you into, Ryan?
I'm really into the unknown, man. I'm into anything that makes you question because really I believe life is a big mystery. And so many of us, like we were, speaking about on my podcast briefly, like so many of us forget that like we're in bubbles, right? So like you go to another country, right? It's like a different planet, right? And so for me, I crave things that I just don't know about, right? I love mystery. I love, I just watched a show called The OA with Rachel. Incredible. It's about like interdimensional travel and like the afterlife and all this stuff. I've always
Yo.
loved history. Like, dude, yeah, all that stuff.
I will say, like, I watched the OA and
Oh,
have you
yeah.
seen the season finale, the first season finale? It was like for me, it was like a stand up and clap type of moment. I didn't expect it to happen like that. That's only ever happened to me twice. The other one was the time that I finished Breaking Bad. Like
Dude,
the
yes.
last episode of Breaking Bad, like literally, I was watching it in my apartment in Seoul, and I jumped out of my seat and applauded with no one there. It was one of those type of moments for sure. Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah, dude. And you and I share that in common that my favorite show of all time was Breaking Bad, right? Until the OA. And I felt so compelled by it, right? I felt so called to like that whole entire thought process of what they believe in the show to be like really what's going on here, right? And even if we could expand further into like what I love about the unknown, it's like what is really going on here, right? What is this experience of life we're going through? And so I felt so called that I actually hit up Britt Marling, who plays the OA, and I hit up her producer as well, this guy Z, and I hit them both up, and I was like, guys, like I just finished the OA, the second season. Have you seen the second season yet?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
Wow.
And,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I hit them up and I was like, hey, I'm really compelled to like talk to you. Let's hop on the podcast and like talk about where your mind was at when you came up with that. And I actually did a little research, and apparently Britt went to a party one time and met this girl who was like, yeah, I'm from another dimension. And she was like, she just seemed like really like different. So that was where the idea for the show was born. So
Wow,
yeah.
Man. But you also, besides just being a fan of the unknown, I know you as like a true botanist, like
Yeah.
someone that like really understands and is connected to nature and knows how to use nature to nourish our bodies. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I'm huge into organic regenerative agriculture and any like natural farming methods. Specifically, Korean natural farming is what I'm trained in, which is funny to talk about Korea, right? It's like these
Yes.
things keep popping up, right? What is going on here?
And I just had a conversation about regenerative farming with Mike Bledsoe. That was
Dude,
like,
oh
yeah. Yeah. So that
yeah,
was like a huge part of our conversation recently. So that's funny that you mentioned that too. Yeah.
yeah. And actually, him and I nerded out on that when we were in Colorado. And he's like, "Hey, man, I'd love like to chat with you further on that." Because I was explaining Korean natural farming, because Korean natural farming, really empowers the gardener, right, the botanist, because what it does is says, hey, all those products in stores, and especially like I come from cannabis, right? For anyone listening, like, so we jokingly say that, any product that would otherwise be say $10 is $20 if it's in a hydroponics shop. It's got the cannabis tax on it, right? So all of these things are very expensive, right? And so how do we, it's very disempowering, right? Like, oh, I got to go to the store, I got to drive there, I got to buy all these things just to grow a plant that, is going to aid me in my life, or any plant that's going to give you fruits or whatever, or veggies, or, whatever you're going to get from it. And, really what organic regenerative agriculture and specifically KNF does is it puts the power back into the gardener, right? Into the botanist, into the creator, right, of life, with being able to learn how to make anything around you into soluble nutrients, right? So say if I see like a goldenrod plant, right? And I'm like, wow, that goldenrod plant's really cool. What Korean natural farming teaches you how to do is take that plant, combine it with brown sugar, ferment it, and extract it. So then you have the nutrients that come from goldenrod, right? Which would be a great fermented plant juice, as they call it, right? So an FPJ. You then combine that with like seawater and this other stuff that, again, is very readily available, at least if you live on the coast like I do, kelp, things of that nature, and you don't need anything else. And also it's better than what you can buy in the store. So that's just a very small window into why I love organic regenerative agriculture. And also, not to mention the fact that our topsoils are depleted of all micronutrients, and we're all walking around basically, unless we're really focusing on not having this happen to us, we're all walking around with micronutrient deficiencies, right? And so then you combine that into growing spiritual plants like cannabis, right, which is now being, cash cropped out, and it paints a very bleak picture, right? And if you just decide like, what, I'm just going to learn these things, which is not hard to learn whatsoever. There's guys like Chris Trump who are putting up incredible videos online. That's the mentor I learned from all my KNF stuff. It's very easy, and so I like, one of my passions in life is empowering people to grow their own food, to grow their own medicine, because really, as Hippocrates said 2,000 years ago, let food be thy medicine, right? And you talk about what we're going through right now with the pandemic and everything, and no matter what anyone watching this thinks about the pandemic, I will say this: it's very interesting to me that when you hear these people, especially the media, right, because they're the true evil, right? Like evil in quotations here. They never talk about like, hey, make sure you get enough sleep. Make sure you're eating organic food. Make sure you're doing all these things, right? And so that's one of the
things. They give you
that,
lots of things to avoid, but they don't offer a lot of positive things to add in to protect your body even further.
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
Truly full transparency is that I learned today I'm COVID positive right now. Okay.
Dude, that's
is like a 30 to 60 second window of my life that I'd love to have back, where I was mindless about something and all of these things. Right. And so I'm here, but here's what I'll say is that, we're not just talking about not getting disease per se,
Mhm.
but it's
Mhm.
also strengthening your resiliency against anything that comes into your way. And that's
Yeah.
really what your message is. It's not necessarily that these things will prevent a once in a generation type of thing from getting you
Yep.
infected. It's that if these things come to pass, you're more resilient to those things.
Mhm.
And because
Mhm.
I intentionally feed my body good things, that I feel more resilient to this. And I can understand how if you weren't doing these things and were very deficient in vitamin D, many of your micronutrients, you're not taking care of your body, not regularly exercising, that you would be susceptible to really tough side effects from diseases like this.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I love about you, is that you empower people to create resiliency in their body with taking very simple actions. That's not like a revolutionary thing. It's like, here's some really simple steps to take. So let's just stay on this note. Like, what's something that's really simple that people can start integrating right now that could be of help, in your opinion, to no matter what the circumstances, coronavirus or not, how can we build more resilient bodies?
Prioritize sleep, period. And also, like, around prioritizing sleep, there are great sleep trackers you can buy if you want to get really intricate, but really just like ensure that you're getting 7 or 8 hours of sleep a night, because especially with what's going on now, I'll bring up COVID again because it's just the big thing right now. And so they don't talk about this on the news or anywhere you see it, right? However, one of the things that's been proven to combat against COVID more than anything is natural killer cells, right? Or NK cells, right? Which we all have within us. And the number one thing to raise NK cells is proper sleep, right? Now, even if you think like, oh, how much can NK cells really help? Well, I'll tell you that the first vaccine they're working on right now is actually a synthetic version of natural killer cells. So, like, that's one of the things you can do right now. And those don't just help with COVID; those help against cancer. Those help against pretty much any myriad of diseases that are affecting Americans right now. And one of the other things they don't mention about COVID is that, like, the biggest two risk factors are obesity and diabetes too. And when you look at it, 200 million Americans are obese or have diabetes, right? So there's a lot of interesting correlations with why we're getting hit harder. But to go back to sleep, what I do is I don't eat 3 hours before I go to bed. It gives your digestion a lot of time to just calm down and relax. A lot of people say with flesh foods, even go 4 or 5. What I've found is, for me, I have a very fast metabolism, but 3 works fine for me. And then really like a wind down time, right? So I have blue blockers that I use, and you don't need anything crazy fancy. You don't need to break the bank. But a blue blocking glasses will help a lot, because basically, like, our body doesn't understand, like, oh, these are lights. The body's like, hey, the sun's out at 8 o'clock at night, right? It doesn't know the difference. So little things, right? Like, buy a $30 pair of sunglasses, right? Meditate before you go to bed. If you don't know how to meditate, just lay there, right? Lay on the ground and just focus on your breath. Like, that's one of the funniest things I teach people about meditation, is like meditation. People complicate it so much, but really it's just laying there and putting your intention and your devotion into a certain aspect of time, a certain period of time, that you're just going to focus on your breath. And you're just going to, whenever things come up, just let them go. The point is not to have no thoughts come into your mind. And the point is not to control your thoughts. It's to disallow your thoughts to control you,
Mm.
And so that's one of the things right there. Just prioritize sleep. Give yourself some wind down time, and just sit in silence for a little bit a day. Remember who you really are, because you are not all those voices in your head. You are not all those programs that are put into you, either selectively or unconsciously. You are the one that watches all of that happen. So, and to bring it back to full circle here, like, when you get proper sleep, your life is more fun. When you have more fun, more people want to be around you. When more people want to be around you, you then start a cult. I'm just kidding. No, but really, what you do is you have the option and you have the ability, and you have the opportunity, right, as we talked earlier, to impact someone's life, right? And really, like we were talking about earlier, when we were talking about like Mexico, and what I noticed when I went down there was, like, people just valued connection more, and they valued being able to, like, give rather than receive, right? And again, there's no judgment on anyone that is in that cycle. I was there, right? Like, I think a lot of us in America specifically are taught to grow up that way, where pretty much we're alone, and it's just what we're doing, what we're focusing on ourselves and all this stuff. And like we talked about earlier too, there was a time where that was necessary. And now there's a time where we can really come together, and you can use this opportunity to really impact people's lives, and so get more sleep, have more fun.
Part of
So
the American story was like going and getting your own little pod in the
yeah,
form of like your home. You go get
yeah.
your own little pod, and you separate, and you have a neighborhood. But even we've lost a lot of touch with the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
We're as soon as things moved online, we stopped knocking on doors
Mm-hmm.
and asking for the sugar. That's like the
Yeah.
classic. Do you have any sugar? You ask a neighbor. And I was actually so proud. It's like I heard my mother say something like, "Oh, it's okay. I'll send a message to my neighbor and see if she can let me borrow." It was like some dish liquid or something. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's cool." Like it's good that we can still foster those sorts of things. I think that's really missed. That's definitely really missed.
Yeah. And like, have you seen The Social Dilemma yet by chance?
Yeah, and I put it so like I now put it at like a must watch level,
Yeah.
like
Agreed.
critical level.
Agreed.
Um, yeah, I don't
That's
say that about a lot because I'm not trying to be I don't like to necessarily come off as an alarmist.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But it is literally a must watch.
Yeah. And like, I prefer to be an optimist about it, right? Like it's like, hey, watch it so you understand what's happening. And then like, hey guys, we can fix this. Like it's not, all for naught, right? Like
Yes, Ryan.
all I refuse to accept that, oh my God, this is all happening to us, right? Oh my God, poor us. We're completely powerless to fix this. It's like, hey, it's like they mentioned in it, right? In the movie. Like if something doesn't work, right? What do? Do we keep doing the thing that's not working? No, we just go, oh, hey, this isn't working. How do we change it, right? And so I think we've gotten to a point, especially with like the giant that is social media, where it's like, yeah, it is what it is, like, and it's like, no, it doesn't have to be that way, right? And the first step is awareness, right? And then the second step will be acceptance, right? Like accepting that, like, okay, we are where we are because we put ourselves here. And then from there, we can choose to become conscious creators and say, okay, how do we mitigate the damage that this can do to us, right? How do we, like, for me, it's like turning notifications off on my phone, right? Giving myself time where, like, it's really fun to do. Again, I know COVID makes things difficult right now, but when you go to dinner, like that classic, throw your phones in the center of the table and whoever has to check it first pays the bill, like, and things like that, man, are just so fun. And also, I will say, right, because this is a big part of it, I have noticed in my own personal life that I am much less likely to grab my phone when I am around people that are making me feel alive. So to take a lot of like the blame off of social media, like I think a lot of people are in relationships that aren't serving them, and they're scared of being lonely. A lot of things that we all experience, right? And so one of the things I would offer is just ask yourself, like, are the times where I'm reaching for my phone more when I'm with people because I don't actually like vibe with these people anymore? Maybe they're amazing people, right? Like you just grown apart, like, and so that's been an interesting correlation I've noticed in this past year, is that like when I'm at Mark's house, right, with you and like everyone, dude, like my phone, I don't think about it for like literally 3 days, except if my alarm goes off at 8 a.m. because I forgot to take my alarm off, and then I remembered it, but other than that, like it doesn't even like enter my world, because I'm so just ready to be there. Same with music festivals. Like I go to a music festival, I could literally be completely social media'd out, checking my phone every like 5 seconds, like a lot of us do. And I go to a music festival, and like 5 days later, I'm like, fuck, where's my fucking phone? It's like,
Yep.
so it really begs the question too, like, are we just so bored in life, right? Which is another whole wormhole we could get down to what boredom really is. But yeah, it's like, why are we wanting to search for dopamine in our phones so much?
Dude, there's a question that popped into my mind and thinking about the lifestyle designing is that, are you living your lifestyle or is your lifestyle living you? And we're being sold lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
and we're constantly being sold a type of life.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to choose and vote where you want to spend your time and attention. But just know people are trying to get you to live a particular lifestyle. There's a reason that you got that ad,
Mm-hmm.
there's a
Mm-hmm.
reason that ad is on that particular TV show or on that particular platform or on your, as you swiped.
Yep.
A lot of people are their lifestyles are living them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of my missions. And one thing that I see you do personally is you help people live their lifestyle as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when I say the lifestyle living us, it's like the 21st century lifestyle, you know, the phones, the connection, the lights, the instant everything, the fast, this and that. That's the lifestyle that we're being given, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and we can choose otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I was thinking about you know, how ridiculous it is how we just all of a sudden next day delivery is like expected. You know,
Yep.
2 day is like 2 days, you know, like I mean, I guess.
I got
You
shit
know?
to do. Like,
Yeah, I guess there, dude.
yeah.
As much as people made fun of him as part of his career, Dane Cook had this really funny line in one of his earlier things. He says, "In the year 3000, everything will be instant." You know, you're like, "Bye, guys." Bzz, you know, you want this? Bzz. He's like, "But the DMV will still take like 9 fucking seconds." You know, like
Yeah.
nine
Right.
seconds. Come on,
Yeah.
got to be at
Yeah.
work in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's ridiculous, but it's like, you know, I actually was riffing on this the other day that like Memphis, FedEx, FedEx kind of invented next day and 2 day delivery. That wasn't even possible before FedEx, you know? And so the ability to get something domestically the next day was like something of another world, you know. We're like, wow, we friggin' jumped into the future with that one, you know. But
Yeah.
now it's like you flash forward 40 years or whatever, and it's like the norm. And in fact, now like same day delivery is starting to become the thing, and within a couple of hours. So it's not so crazy to think like, you know, I got to be at work in 3 seconds. Everybody,
Yeah.
if everything just feels like it's getting accelerated. And the reason it's that it feels that way is that it actually is that way. Technology expands at an exponential rate, which means it goes faster, and we're
Mhm.
choosing all of it. You know, every time we choose into that experience, that's what we get. And so I think I love having conversations like this with people like you, because you're not only are you willing to see things as they are, you also take action to try to like see the thing that you want willed out into the world. Like, hey, no, like let's use these platforms for connection, and let's use it for reaching our audience, but let's not get consumed by it. Let's use these lights. If you got to burn the midnight oil because you got like a deadline because you're working on your passion project, you know, I've been watching a lot of documentaries about like either really famous artists or like people who made movies. I watched one called a stupid futile gesture. It was about the guy that created Animal House and Caddyshack, and
Oh,
like just
yeah.
seeing those types of stories, just like, you know, real people doing like crazy things. I think about how like we have the ability to create that change, and it's actually not as radical as it seems.
Yeah.
You know, so we just got to make decisions and support people and businesses that support the vision that we want to see in the world.
Yeah.
You vote every day with your dollars. A lot of people are,
Yes.
this is like election season, you know, like, yes,
Mhm.
voting is important. Vote for your representatives,
Mhm.
and you vote every day with your dollars.
Yes,
Yeah.
dude. I'm so glad you brought that up, man, because that's such an important step. And it's like, people are always like, oh, how are these big companies just keep getting bigger? It's like, well, because people keep giving them their money, right? So this is like a conversation I enjoy having too, because for me, it's like, the political system in my mind is a broken system, right? And it's really like a game they allow us to play so that we feel like we have some say in things, right? And I'm not saying voting doesn't matter. It does matter. And what I'm saying is, I feel just like you were saying, like the decisions we make every day are more important than one we make every 4 years, right? So, like for me, it's like people get so roped up into this political thing when it happens, right? So much energy goes into it, and something I say all the time is like you only get so much energy every day, right? So by giving in to the media, right, which tells you like, hey, this guy, like, this is how I look at it, right? It's basically one guy is trying to get to a door, right? And there's two people blocking the door. And those people are like, say, one Democrat, one Republican, right? And they're joined, right? They're having a good time. They're just like, hey, we're protecting this door, right? And they think they're totally fine. And this guy walks up to them and he's like, hey, I want to go in that door. And they're like, nah, sorry, you can't get in, bro. And he's like, well, he called your mom stupid and he called your dad fat. right? And they're just like, what? And he's like, yeah, you're going to take that? You're going to let him call your mom stupid? I mean, your mom doesn't look stupid, right? And they just start like bickering back and forth, and he just walks right around him, right? That's the media in politics, right? Like, that's what they do. Like, they're just triggering everyone because they understand what they're doing, right? And what happens is then people are unable to critical think. They're stuck in a sympathetic nervous system response, fight or flight, right? And so then you're more impressionable, right? Then when you see that ad, you're going to need dopamine because you're so fucking stressed out, right? But you are allowing yourself to get stressed out, right? So it's a multifaceted issue of like taking a step back, like everything we've been talking about, like using social media for what it is meant to be, a tool, right? Like not something that consumes your life, but something that like, hey, can do amazing things, right? Like nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so, right? So rather than thinking of social media as the enemy, or even the media as the enemy, as I often do, right? Like it's all the attention we give them, right? So if we choose to vote with our attention, right? And say, hey, you know what? Instead of that, I'm gonna go and do this thing that I've really wanted to do, right? Or go, play guitar, or talk to my friends, or whatever, right? Which isn't always easy, because a lot of the time I think what we're dealing with is we're dealing with a lot of people that are dealing with a lot of problems, but their mind is so full that they don't want to talk about their problems because it's overwhelming. And like, no shit, of course it's going to be overwhelming. Like, I agree. Like, of course, like, and what lesson in school ever taught us how to deal with our mind or deal with our body or like anything really, when you think about it? Like when this is a little ranty right here, but like when you think about what our school is, like our schooling is, it's just pretty much like a random collection of what someone thought was important or a group of people thought was important. And that's like what's happening is like, not to, I'm not getting down conspiracy lane or anything here, but like, let's just look at it what it is. Like, people are not set up to own and operate a human body and mind, right? And we're the most complex creature on the planet, right? So we don't know how to control it, and then we get sold all these, these lies, and not even lies. They're just things that other people think, right? So they're realities in that person's world. Hey, you need to go to college, you need to do this, right? And so you end up at a point where you just end up overwhelmed, right? And then you're much more likely to be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to the store and I'm just getting something fucking boxed. I'm going to throw it in. I'm going to put Netflix on. I understand, right? Like, it makes sense. And so like what we're talking about here is like being able to vote with your dollar, right? But like what I also see in that is like, I think that's like the third step, because you have to take a step back and actually like be able to get space in your mind, right? And that's what meditating is so good for, because it's free. You can do it anywhere. You can do it in your car on lunch break. You can do it anywhere. And when you get a little bit more space, you have like a chance, right, to just go, why is my life the way it is? And then like hopefully around the right people that can be honest with you, right? Like we were talking about in my episode about like coaching, like a coach, like the reason you get a coach is not to gain another friend. It's for someone to tell you, hey man, stop putting the cheeseburger in your mouth and you'll stop getting the results that you don't want, right? And like for a lot of people, like they don't have anyone in their life like that. Like, I didn't have anyone in my life that was like, hey man, like, you keep complaining about this thing, but you keep doing it every day. Like, why, right?
Dude,
Like
the thing that I really appreciate about you is that you don't see these outcomes as inevitabilities. And I think that is partially where we can set to lead is, part of the, a lot of people say, oh, my vote doesn't matter. Well, it's like, it's like the same thing could be said about, how you voted in your grocery shopping list. It's like, well, I wasn't the one that created these big companies, so like, what influence do I have? It's that shared sense that like my individual self isn't able to influence, but really you've just given responsibility away and say, I don't have to be responsible for myself because I can't control any of it. But really the answer is controlling yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you take responsibility for those choices, then you're like at least sitting in the seat where you've done your part. Anything that happens outside of you taking care of your little corner of yourself, then that's just added bonus and good energy, good karma, whatever you want to call it. That's just you like in positively influencing someone to do the same thing for themselves, even if they don't make the same choices as you. That's the big thing. It's like, it's not necessarily about people making the same choices. It's about people feeling empowered to make their own choices, that these things aren't inevitabilities, that the social media just like isn't just what it is, that we can choose to get off, that the media isn't just what it is, like, oh, that's just what we get. No, we can just like choose to not listen to that and have different, conversations altogether, different senses of like when we're going to like about food and things like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So how we're going to eat, that's what I was getting at. So when all of those things are put up, and we're thinking about it at the front of our mind, where would you guide someone after sleep? Like, where can they start directing their attention to where they don't feel like these things are inevitable,
Mm-hmm.
where they can control and steer it for themselves?
You know, one thing I'll go back to real quick too, because you brought it full circle there, is like, so like I mentioned before, like I think the political system is broken, right? So a lot of people will argue like we got to convert the Democrats to Republicans or whatever, right? And personally, my thing is like, you know, why would you waste your energy doing that when, again, like I spoke about, like people are in sympathetic responses, their identities entrenched in these like identities as a Democrat, Republican. So what's happening is like you're going to try to convince someone whose identity is wrapped up in that. It's not going to help, right? So what I do, and what you were just talking about, right, by like, you know, by going and buying like the right food or whatever, right, and being a sovereign being, you're going to be a living example of what it is to be happy, to be whatever, right? And then people are going to see that and they're going to innately be like, you know, like Brooks over there, man, he seems like he's really happy. Like, I want to be happier, right? And they don't care what you are, Republican, Democrat. They just want to be happy, right? Because that's what everyone wants. They want fulfillment, they want purpose, they want happiness, right? So they're going to go over to you and be like, hey man, like I see you being happy. Like, what's it all about? And just like the conversation we're having now, they can be like, dude, like, you know what really helps, man? Like getting to bed on time, you know, and like, you know, it works for me. Like try it for you, right? And then they're able to go make their own choices, right? Which again, in coaching, we learned, right? Like that's why advice is not nearly as impactful as guiding someone to their own answer, right? So like you teach them a backdoor value of how to be a sovereign being, right? Because then they go to bed early, right? And they're like, shit, that feels really good. Like, I wonder what it would be like if I cooked my own breakfast and stopped going to like Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks. They try that and they're like, fuck, I feel a little bit better now. And then they start turning on, right? And then someone's like, dude, you look fucking amazing, man. You lost some weight. Like, you look great. What have you been doing? It's like, oh, I'm just going to bed on time. I'm like not eating like shit food, right? And they're like, yeah, like, you know, this is what I did, you know? And the person's like, well, I'm going to try that. And then that's how we, like, I feel that's the way we actually change everything going on, social media, politics, whatever you want to say. It's by putting the power back in the people, right? So with your question you just asked, like, what's the second thing? You know, what I would say is it's really a myriad of different ways, whatever will make you feel powerful. And there's a difference between power and force, right? David Hawkins talks about this, right? Power is what you gain when you be the living example of what you preach, right? So you practice what you preach, right? So someone that has done the work, right? They show up for themselves and they're just throwing huge smiles out, dude. And someone's like, whoa, like I want to hang out with that guy. That's power. Force is like what social media is doing, like buy this, do this, whatever, because you're not you without it, you know? And again, nothing is good or bad. It's just difference, right? So what I would say is, you know, if you want like, you know, brass tacks, what I would say after that is some form of inner work. And I would say meditation. And the reason I'm not is because I feel a lot of people, myself included, which is why this hits home for me, meditation's boring. Like I'm an Aries. I want to like fly and be fiery and do stuff, right? So for me, what I would say to people is do something like block out an hour of your time, right? If you can't do it per day, like block out 15 minutes per day. Everyone has 15 minutes. If you don't think you do, look at your schedule, you have it, right? So block out 15 minutes and practice doing breath work, right? Breath work is fun, right? So if you're addicted to adrenaline, you're addicted to like checking your phone and dopamine and all that stuff, I get it, right? Like we're all there in some way, shape, or form. Try breath work. It'll make you immediately, like you do some great guided breath work on YouTube, you're going to get a sensation, right? And that sensation is going to be fun for you. And then from there, after you feel like you've gotten like the hang of that, try meditating, you know, like after you've done your breath work, like try meditating. Try changing your language, right? Like play the one word game, right? Here's I think the number one thing people can do, right? Whenever you catch yourself saying you have to do something, like verbally say, I get to do that. Like if you're talking to someone and they're like, hey, do you want to hang out tomorrow? Oh, I have to work. No, I get to work tomorrow. Because when you get to work, what comes in your head? Yeah, I got legs. I can go to work, right? Like I have a car. I can get to work. I have food that gives me energy to get to work, right? When you have to go to work, it just makes you seem like a prisoner, right? And who you're a prisoner to, right? So I would say like, again, it's like I just gave you like 3 things, but the one word game is great. Just change have to get to, right? That'll change the whole energy of whatever you have to go do, right? So that and then breath work, I would say, would be like the 2 next things. Because those for me, like meditation just didn't resonate with me. I was addicted to adrenaline. I was addicted to the go, getting shit done. Breath work hit me right. It slowed me down. And when I was able to down regulate myself, down regulate my speech, because one of the first things I learned was that when you're always talking like this and you don't ever stop, and it's just like, it's really anxious, like anxiety provoking for people, you know? And so being able to like talk really fast when you're excited and then slow it down, you know, and have
Ryan,
like,
we always have the beats per minute turned up on our speech. I've been like
oh,
consciously having to slow down because you and I will spin out of control in no time.
Yes, dude, I used to, right? And I would have people like, and Mark and I talked about this, where like I for a long time thought it was a compliment. Like I would be like on my shit, like I got perfect sleep, I got diet under control, I've had 100 ounces of water, and I'm just like in the zone, right? When I was working at the dispensary, and like people would come in and they'd be kind of like, you know, tame, and I'd be like, you need this, and like, you know, like or like try this and blah blah blah, and they'd be like, hey, like, can you calm it down? And I'd be like, yes, like I'm getting it, like I'm succeeding, right? And Mark told the story about how he was very similar. Like he didn't want to smile, you know, and people would be like, dude, you're so intense. And he'd be like, yeah, I am intense. And then someone said, hey, Mark, take away the in front of that. I'm so tense. Oh, I don't like that, right?
Yeah.
And it was the same experience for me when it was like, dude, it seems like you have a lot of anxiety all the time. It's not making you seem like you're processing fast. It just makes you seem like you have anxiety, you know? And so that was a big takeaway I got.
Breath really helps with that. And so does the one word game, just noticing how you're saying things. The thing that's come into mind is that health and wellness, although they overlap, are not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know people that are healthy that aren't very well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like wellness breeds health.
Yes.
Wellness seems to like bleed into health, where you can be healthy but not necessarily be well or like at ease, you know. And so getting more sleep, doing the breath work, it's like it's just allowing you to be well, and then that improves your health little by little. You know what I'm saying? The other thing is that these practices are subtle. They create subtle change over time. And the thing that I want to add to this is that the only person that's putting the time constraint on getting what you want is you. And like it, people want to get somewhere so fast, you know, but what we know, it's like so crazy because we've heard it so many times that it's just so cliche, yet we catch ourselves doing it. It's like, get good rest, spend some time being quiet with yourself, doing some breathing, and just like be mindful of your words, you know, those 3 things. And you can be so well. Your health will improve because of these things. And they're so simple, but instead of thinking how that's going to help you feel better in the next month, 3 months, think about a year from now, think about 5 years from now, and how this consistent practice will play into you living hopefully a longer, more vibrant lifestyle, a more highly optimized lifestyle.
Hell yeah, dude.
Well, Ryan, if people wanted to learn more about you, learn how they can get in touch with you, maybe even work with you as a coach, where could they find you?
Instagram is definitely the best place. Instagram at highly_optimized. I also have a website coming that'll be coming real soon, but I also have a podcast, the Highly Optimized Podcast, which is on Spotify, iTunes, pretty much anywhere that music is found. You can find me there. But Instagram would be the best way. Yeah, reach out, talk to me. I'm a chatty Cathy if you guys haven't, you know, realized that by now. And yeah, excited to connect with everyone.
Dude, Ryan, you are legitimately one of my favorite people in the game right now. So it's been a real pleasure talking with you, and I'm gonna let us play out to some bump. All right, you ready? Say goodbye to all the people out there.
See you guys. Have a great day, and remember to be highly optimized.
Highly optimized. That's it. Serious.Fun. Peace out.
His love is my favorite, but you plus me sadly can be dangerous. Lucky me, lucky you, can't go get, 'cause my we lie. So what? So not sorry 나 어떡해 나약한